you may well be familiar with this photo by now. Boris Johnson enjoying a drink on his birthday in Downing Street in June 2020. Well, exactly 3 years on to the day, the consequences of that gathering and others are being played out in the House of Commons. Well, just look at this. Right now, MPs are debating the findings of the Privileges Committee report. Now, you might remember that one from last Thursday, which concluded that Mr Johnson deliberately misled Parliament and the public about Downing Street parties. So now MPs are about to vote on whether to accept the findings of that report. So which way will it go? Let's talk now to our political editor, Andy Bell, who's in Westminster this evening, Andy. And that debate, of course, just got underway a short time ago. What's been said so far?
Well, Danny, I think perhaps the most significant point is that Penny Mordaunt, the leader of the House who led off this debate, has said that she will vote to back the committee report. She said she will be doing it as an individual MP, not on behalf of the government, because this is a free vote for all MPs. They're not being told what to do by the leaderships within their party. Now, I'm sure there will be some Conservative MPs who will want to go on record to defend Boris Johnson, but there will be an awful lot of Conservative MPs for whom this is extremely awkward. They will not want to vote against the committee's report, nor will they want to be seen to be going against Boris Johnson, because they know that in their constituencies he probably still has quite a few supporters. So let's put it this way. Today, a number of Conservative MPs have made it their business to be somewhere else.
Tory MPs out campaigning in Uxbridge, but the by-election isn't for another 4 weeks. So did they really have to be here today of all days?
Hello, are you going back in Westminster for the vote later?
Yes, I am.
Are you going to be going back?
Indeed.
Are you all going to be there, do you think? Are you going to be there, sir? Going to be there for the Privileges Committee vote? Yes, no?
I'll probably be in Westminster at some point.
At some point. It does look as if a lot of you, I've seen a few of you out and about. Looks like you're trying to avoid Westminster today, is that fair?
No, I'm going straight there after this.
Joy, are you going to be at Westminster later?
Who knows?
Who knows? Do you not think you should be there today for this vote? It's important to show support for your colleagues on the committee.
So is the by-election.
We don't talk to you guys.
Good to see you.
And their party leader didn't want to commit either.
Each individual colleague will make up their own mind when the time comes. This is a matter for the House rather than for the government. It's an important distinction, and that's why I wouldn't want to influence anyone in advance of that.
This afternoon, he welcomed the Swedish Prime Minister.
Where is your leadership, Prime Minister?
Downing Street has said there's no room in his schedule tonight for a visit to the Commons. This is all we've seen of Boris Johnson today, but he's reportedly told allies they shouldn't push for a vote later in the Commons, perhaps because he fears not many would back him.
So there'll be a by-election here in Uxbridge. Boris Johnson won't be standing, but what do his old constituents think about the punishment he's been given?
I think it was a bit too harsh.
A bit too much?
Yeah, I think so, personally, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's a good man. He made good, but unfortunately we all make mistakes.
Whatever judgment is made by them, I would agree with, and I think the MPs should also do the same.
I feel like he's now got the easy route out of it, saying that, okay, he stepped down and so forth. That's the easier route out for him, but to me, he hasn't really been punished.
And just to make things more awkward, these pictures emerged at the weekend. This party at Conservative HQ in December 2020 has already been investigated by police, but they say they're now reviewing that. A lot of people have found it hard to move on from COVID. The Conservative Party leadership must feel the same.
And Andy, what's going to happen now? Will it go to a vote?
Well, that's still not clear, because the way it works here is at the end of another couple of hours of debate, the Speaker will basically say all those in favour, and the people will shout out aye, all those against nay. And if people shout out no, enough of them, then it will go to a vote. But if they're silent, essentially, then the ayes will have it, as they say here, and that will mean that the House of Commons has endorsed the committee's report. Now, if that happens, that's a way of perhaps not making too obvious the fact that there probably wouldn't be that many Conservative MPs who are really prepared to back Boris Johnson and vote against the report. But what it does mean is that the report is still endorsed by all those MPs, and that is a very serious matter. I mean, just to give you an idea of what Penny Mordaunt said earlier, remember, this is a report which says that Boris Johnson deliberately misled the House and the committee, undermined the democratic process, and was complicit in a campaign of abuse and attempted intimidation of the committee. So even if there's no vote, that would all go through on the nod, and the MPs would have made that decision, passed that judgment on Boris Johnson.
Andy, what have we been hearing in the Commons?
Well, Danny, we've been hearing from the chair of the Privileges Committee and former deputy leader of the Labour Party, Harriet Harman. Now, she has been very much criticised by Boris Johnson, singled out by her. He basically said he was never going to get a fair hearing from this committee because she had published various tweets and posted on social media already criticising his behaviour during lockdown. And she was giving a speech and was interrupted by Jacob Rees-Mogg, former cabinet minister, big ally of Boris Johnson. And so Jacob Rees-Mogg wanted to say, were you not concerned about the perception of bias? Shouldn't you have stepped back from your role? This is some of the exchange between the two MPs.
In relation to her famous tweets, how does she think she met the Hoffman test?
And I actually said I'm more than happy to step aside because perception matters, and I don't want to do this if the government doesn't have confidence in me, because I need the whole House to have confidence in the work that the committee has mandated. And I was assured that I should continue the work that the House had mandated with the appointment that the House had put me into, and so I did just that.
Yeah. Now, that's the first time we've heard that Harriet Harman actually asked whether the government, which was run by Boris Johnson at the time, was going to be happy with her conducting that inquiry. She said she was told that they were happy. This debate now continues for another couple of hours, and it may or it may not end with a vote. But one way or another, there will be a judgment on Boris Johnson and this report.